David Proctor says, another very left-wing friend of mine says that all the opposition she sees to allowing refugees in the U.S. seems to come from fear, not caution. I've tried explaining that I lock my doors not out of fear, but because I know it only takes one invader in my home to jeopardize everyone under my roof. How can we start getting the conservative story through the left-wing echo chamber? I said earlier, that I'm going to say some things that some people might have some problems with. We are finding that these people are being vetted pretty well. I think this business about not letting them in because they're terrorists is not the issue. If it turns out that the governors do not have the constitutional authority to do this, then I have a problem with that too, although God knows the liberals are saying, well, you don't understand, it's not up to the governors, it's up to the federal government. These people are awful quiet when it comes time for mayors to talk about sanctuary cities in direct contravention of federal law. I think a governor has a right to protect his state. This is the issue. This is the issue. If they're refugees, then when do they go home? If they're never going home, then are they willing to live by our rules and our laws and our cultural norms and not theirs? There it is in a nutshell. I think that's the answer. If somebody says you lack compassion for these people, tell them this. The people we're talking about are not people who stood in line for years, filled out forms, spent a fortune, and dedicated their lives to come to America to live here as citizens under our own laws. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people who are being imported into this country, many of whom are raised under the strictures of a religion that are antithetical to American values. And so the question is, are these refugees going to stay? And if they're going to stay, are they willing to give up their old life, their old values, and their old religious beliefs in exchange for ours? And if they are, then they're welcome. And if they're not, then they're not. Final question from Cheryl Twomey, who asked me to do this late so she could watch because she apparently could only come in the second hour. And this is basically, I just kind of almost teed this up. I'm glad I saved this for last because I want to close on this. How do we walk the fine line between humanitarianism, letting people in who are truly in need, and ensuring America's safety and letting no one in? That's the whole issue. That's the whole thing. I'm going to do an afterburner on Friday, and I'm going to call it a failure of intelligence. And here's the thrust of it. The people that say that by fighting the radicals and by trying to protect American culture, we are demeaning and harming other Muslims are wrong. As I said earlier, we had to fight Nazi Germany, but we didn't have to kill the Germans in America to do it. We have to fight radical Islam. It doesn't mean we have to take out and beat to death every honest, hardworking, decent Muslim that lives in this country, and that's the huge majority of them. It's a failure of intelligence to say that it's an either-or proposition. I'm capable of holding two thoughts in my mind at the same time, and they're not contradictory thoughts. I'm capable of saying this. The huge majority of Muslims in this country are peaceful people who live here in tranquility with the rest of us, and in many, and if not most cases, are tremendously virtuous people with very strong family values and so on. They have foregone what their religion commands them in order to live under the new religion, which is the religion of the Constitution of freedom and the American system. If we retaliate against this people, we lose our soul. We lose our soul. We lose the essence of what America is. And it's a failure of intelligence to say that it's either or. And that's what the left says. The left is terrified. The left is cowardice. The left is nothing but cowardice. So the left does not want to fight them. They don't not only do they not want to fight Islam, radical Islam. I just did it again. I just felt it's not radical Islam. It's Islam. There's moderate Islam. There's apostate Islam. But they don't want to fight Islam as it is because they don't want to fight anybody because they're cowards. So They will say, because they don't want to fight, they'll say, see, it's un-American to fight. It's un-American to fight. Obama says this all the time. That's not who we are, as if you know. As if you know who we are, Obama. By the way, I called him a traitor once or twice, and I just recently caught myself. He's not a traitor. In order to be a traitor, you have to be one of us and then sell us out. He's never been one of us. He's a foreign agent. He's not a traitor. So I am capable of keeping, I have the intelligence, and you do too, to keep two things in mind. One of them is I can fight radical Islam ruthlessly and understand that it's a threat not only to the American system, it's a threat to every human value that has any meaning in the world. It's fascism, it's totalitarianism, it's absolute utter control, it's brutality, savagery, it's everything wrong with the world. It's barbarism and it's evil. And we can fight this. And we can fight it without fighting the Muslims who don't adhere to it. And the point I made at the beginning of the show, and that's why it's a good close, is that if we don't fight the ideology and kill the jihadi warriors, then we are essentially abandoning the field to them. If we're not ready to fight for this civilization, if we're not ready to defend these values with our lives and fight for them, then they will conclude correctly that the future belongs to those who do not insult the Prophet of Islam. So we can go over there and bomb them to smithereens, and if we have to put troops on the ground after an attack on this country, I don't think we do it before, but if they do something like that and we have to go send guys over there to die to get every last one of them, that's why we have warriors. They go over there, they kill them, and they come home. And then if they start uprising again, we just mow the lawn and we just keep hitting them until they decide to give up. But we cannot give up the presumption of innocence. We cannot give up the idea of immigration. We cannot give up the essence of the American conscience that makes us the most moral power in the history of the world. We cannot give that up. We can do both at the same time. This is what the left is saying. As I said, they're cowards. So they're saying, if you fight them, we lose our soul. No. We can fight them and not only keep our soul, we can fight them and preserve the best of what we are by fighting them in the way that we fought the Germans. We didn't have to kill every German American in order to fight the Germans. We fought the Germans, and we beat them. We fought the Russians, and we beat them. We didn't have to kill every Russian in America. We didn't have to kill every Italian in America in order to fight them. We're smart enough to understand that there are innocent people and guilty people, and we're going after the guilty people. But we also have to have the social confidence and the fundamental self-respect and the fundamental self-love to understand that this is the greatest society in the history of the world, and we're prepared to defend it. We're not going to just roll over and die. They are, the left is, but we're not. That's the difference between us and them. And if anybody has any doubt, by the way, if Michael Moore or Janine Garofalo or any of these idiots, if we lose, and if they are in a room and they are lined up against a wall and they are said, either you will become a Muslim or you will die, every single one of them will do what the word means. They will submit. They will not fight. They will submit. Life has been good to me. There are a lot worse ways to go than in a gunfight defending this country. I don't think it's going to come to that. I sure hope it doesn't. But I think that these guys, these terrorists, these jihadis, who are convinced that the West is dead and has a death wish, I think if they try that stuff here, they're going to be in for a bit of a surprise. I think the old girl's got a little life in her yet, I actually think that if they try to pull this off, the problem is going to be that there's going to be so many of us out there with our weapons that most of us are not even going to have a chance to reload. And so when people ask me, why do you need a gun and why do you have the Second Amendment, I say, well, to protect ourselves against the government, to protect myself against crime, but also so that I don't have to sit across from an open door and watch people gunned down in cold blood by murderers and not be able to do anything about it. Maybe I could write a sternly worded letter and fold it into a paper airplane and mail it down to them and tell them there's a new hashtag. Maybe that'd stop them. I think that'll do it. Hey, look at that, 2 hours, 5 minutes. Well, I think this has been one of the more substantial shows that we've done for a while. We sure had a lot of questions and a lot of terrific questions. I really appreciate the chance to hash this out. These questions are so profound. They give me a chance to explore some of these things and to make some sense out of them. I will close with the same commercial that I closed with in the beginning. If any of this makes sense to you and you think that this is a way to help win this battle, I need your help. I need the financial help. If you want to become a member, you go to BillWhittle.com and hit the Become a Member button. And we're going to also set up like a one-time donation thing for those of you that don't like the idea of membership. So, hate to be the guy who's going to tell you this, but we're going to have to start pushing this really hard because it's not about me and it's not about me. And it's not about this office. Somebody who understands this has to get this message out to the American people in a way that's palatable. And if you're watching this on YouTube or whatever and you can help, we could sure use it. It's BillWhittle.com, and there's a little Become a Member button up there. And I'm afraid I'm going to have to be leaning on this hard now because I can't bear to be out of this fight. I can't bear it. I can't stand it. I can't live with myself, and I do not have the means to do this on my own. So any help you could give us would be deeply appreciated. Again, for those of you who are members, bless your heart. I know sometimes my deliverables are behind. We outran our questions on time over target. We've got a bunch of new ones, so we've got about 100 of those, and we're going to be adding this Nexus report, I think, within the next week or two, and we're going to be bringing back the firewalls, but we need the means to promote them and get this message out there. So that's it. Thank you. Great show. Really great questions. I learned so much from you fine people. And you be safe out there. I know it's despairing. I know it's awful. I know it's enough to make you want to just give up, but that's what they want. And we've beaten everybody so far. We've beaten we've beaten people that have been into outer space. You know, we beat the Russians. We beat the Germans. We beat the Japanese. We beat the Confederacy. I think we can beat these 7th century savages. I don't think it'll take much trouble. Just needs the will. So thanks again for everything. And that's the end of episode 107. And we will see you soon. Thanks again for the support. Hang in there. This country's worth saving, and we're going to do it too. We're going to whip these bastards out of their boots. All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye.